Dustin Bixby welcoming you back here to the arena at Gwinnett Center as the Gladiators get set to take on the Florida Everblades. Joined for tonight's broadcast by Christine Troike of the Gwinnett Daily Post. Christine, Gladiators a 4-2 loss in the last outing against Florida a couple of days ago back on Wednesday, and it seemed coming into before that game, I should say, it seemed like the Gladiators sort of turning the corner with sort of turning things around after struggling during the month of December, but you come into that Florida game, the roster's changed just a little bit, and you lose some more guys, and it sort of makes it tough trying to get prepared here for tonight to wonder which way the Gladiators are going to go, if it's going to be more of the old or some of the new.
It really does. The other factor, I think, tonight is just going to be that Florida is playing a lot of hockey in a short period of time. Yesterday was their only day off. And, maybe they're tired, maybe they're not. Maybe they're tired from scoring all those goals. Not just against Gwinnett. They were in Charlotte and won 4-0 the night after they beat Gwinnett 4-2. So I guess silver lining maybe is at least Gwinnett scored. Charlotte wasn't able to do it. So.
No. And you talk about the Everblades scoring a lot of goals, 31-10 during their 7-game winning streak right now. They've outscored their opponents during that span. So the Everblades can put pucks in the net. And talking with Jeff, the key is going to be defense, and that was something the Gladiators seemed to lack early in the season. But that, you get Brendan Turner back, and you get a couple different guys in there, and a different defensive crew.
Yeah, the defense certainly got an upgrade when the Chicago Blackhawks lost their affiliate in Fresno, their ECHL affiliate in Fresno, and were looking for a place to send their prospects and ended up sending them to Gwinnett right around Christmas. So that was a big upgrade. And I think just having those guys, it was 2 defensemen and 2 forwards and a goalie, so that is a lot of defense.
Yep.
But also the 2 forwards are pretty responsible defensively, and I think a little bit of that attitude rubbed off. They came from a winning team. Fresno folded, and it was still 2 weeks before they dropped out of the lead in their division standings.
Yep.
That's how well Fresno was doing, which is what really makes it sad, is that it wasn't, maybe it's not any sadder than if a team isn't doing well and they have to fold, but, they had a good product and still couldn't
get folks.
Yeah, it was, there's still financial difficulties, but, those 5 guys are an upgrade. I've been pretty impressed with Brendan Turner. He's not on a Chicago Blackhawks contract. He's on a Rockford contract. But, like you have seen in the past with Gwinnett getting guys that the Thrashers are interested in, but maybe aren't on contract, and they'll be on contract with the Chicago Wolves in the AHL, somebody like Colton Freder or, Kevin Dole at some point, the guys that they're interested in. Yeah, and then, some of them make their way up and some of them don't, but just because they're not on an NHL contract doesn't make them less, of a prospect.
Absolutely. And talking about some of those other players and disappointing, though, the Gladiators lose Hobson as well as Bertie for tonight's contest. Hobson called up today by Rockford, and so the Gladiators lose both of those guys coming into tonight's contest. And she said, they're forwards, but they're very responsible defensively, and hopefully some of that rubbed off on some of the other guys. But I think, part of it also is the Gladiators, with that upgrade, Jeff trying to make some moves to sort of say, hey, everybody needs to straighten up and get in line, and he's been happy with the effort so far. So I think, it's getting everybody to do, and it's so cliche to say, especially with Jeff, do the little things well. But again, you see some of those games, they struggle. The puck, gets to the blue line but not out. And now you get those new guys in, and the puck will get over the blue line and back into the neutral zone. It just causes everybody regroup, get a chance to break, sort of like that goal on Wednesday that Florida scored that ended up being the go-ahead goal in the second period there, where the Gladiators, Fallon thought he had the puck covered up, and, everybody sort of, I don't want to say stopped playing, but thought he had it covered, and the Gladiators desperately needed a change, couldn't get it, and then Florida scores. So it's as Jeff would say, those little things of him being able to just cover the puck up and get a stoppage that have really been the difference from, a 1-goal win and a 1-goal loss.
Yeah, it's not, this year so much it hasn't been what Jeff had always called the pizza up the middle pass. I've seen very few of those, which is essentially, a defenseman down by his own goal line looking for the outlet pass and going up the middle, and usually there's a forechecker there, and that had been a recurring theme for the first 5 seasons here. Not always and not often, but it would happen, and I really haven't seen that this season. But as you said, it's the littler things. Like, that's a big thing. You see that and you go, oh, somebody messed up bad. But the little things, like, when you're at the end of the shift and you're tired and you don't clear the zone and it was close, but you just didn't get the job done.
Yep.
And it stays in your zone and other team keeps cycling and all of a sudden it's in your net. Those are the times that I think people should feel most responsible for their mistakes, because it should have been an easy play.
An easy clear.
Yeah, chip, and if you've ever been out there, you know that it doesn't, the puck might jump and or you just didn't get enough mustard on the chip shot out, but you have to, or you're going to get scored on a lot of the time.
And that is, I think, what's happened to the Gladiators the first half of the season, but now you get some guys, or you had some guys like Bertie and Hobson who were responsible defensively that helped out and were able to move that puck out of the zone and move it, up into the neutral zone, at least to get it clear, to get a change, to create offense the other direction. And, we saw a lot of that on Wednesday, and the Gladiators are going to try and look, obviously, to continue that even without those guys. So,
well, when you watch Bertie play, you can tell the guy has spent most of his career in the AHL. There's just a sort of smoothness about his play and good decision making. Hobson, I'll try not to go on too much. Everybody knows I like former Spokane Chiefs players, and he's one of them. But he also is a good two-way forward, and also participates in the physical aspect of the game. On the forecheck, goes for the body, tries to keep pucks in the offensive zone by a check at the blue line, things of that nature. So it is not to say that the rest of the Gladiators don't do that. It's just that I think you notice it more when a guy comes in the middle of the season, and there's an appreciable difference in the way everyone is playing. And maybe it's just, and so much of it is mental. So much of this game is mental, and are you confident or are you not confident? And one of the things that Jeff has repeatedly said after losses is we're just not confident enough. Part of that, though, you do have to say there is some confidence on this team, because they have a lot of come-from-behind wins. 2 goals come from behind wins in the third period. 5
of them so far this year, and some of them, not all of them, I think, were in the third period. I think there were 3 of the 5 were in the third period. But you talk about confidence. The team that's not confident isn't going to get those. But there are times when you can tell that they've overcome the 2-goal deficit, and then they give one up, and that's sort of the end. There's sort of a middle break ground there, I guess you could say, where if they can continue the success of coming back, they can continue that, and most of the time they get the next one. They'll turn things around, but if it goes the other way.
Well, and I think part of it also has to do with who are you playing. Which team are you playing against? Because certain teams give you those openings, and certain teams don't. And Florida is one of those teams that's really not going to give you very many openings.
Nope.
They'll wait for you to make a mistake and take advantage. I think it was interesting that you noted that in their most recent winning streak, they've had quite a few winning streaks this season.
That's very true.
That's how you get to 54 points at the halfway mark. But they had outscored their opponents 31-10. But if you go back to the games that they had lost right before that, they had been outscored 13-1 by Charlotte.
Oops.
So this is not a team that is unbeatable.
Absolutely.
I think that the potential is obviously there, and those 2 games in Charlotte came on the heels of their loss in Gwinnett.
Yeah, their longest losing streak it turned out to be.
Yeah, and that game that they lost in Gwinnett was Gwinnett came from behind in that game. And you could hear the Florida coach, Malcolm Cameron, yelling at his team through the cement walls downstairs after that game. He was not happy about losing that way. Now, I can't begin to guess as to why he was that angry when you have that big of a lead in the division.
Right.
I mean, a lot of times Gwinnett has been in that position that, they're way ahead in the division, and maybe they lost to a team they shouldn't have lost to, like in past years, say in Augusta or Pensacola.
Sure.
And yes, there's disappointment, but generally I never heard that kind of implosion. And of course, it's two different coaches, so the style is a little bit different. But it is interesting to note that Florida has been beaten and has been beaten badly on occasion.
Yeah, talking to Everblades broadcaster Kevin Ryder, he said that, he didn't know if it was a little bit of spite that 8-0 loss the next one after the beratement they got here that you mentioned against the Gladiators. So they've been able to turn things around, though, since that. After those 3 losses, they've won 7 straight, and the Gladiators and Everblades getting set for tonight's contest. Just quickly, other games of interest in the South Division tonight. Mississippi is at South Carolina this evening, and the Gladiators taking on the Florida Everblades. Other games as well. See, Trenton is at Reading, Dayton at Johnstown, Cincinnati at Wheeling, Bakersfield at Phoenix, Idaho at Stockton, Utah at Ontario, and Victoria at Alaska. Take a break, bring it back into the starting lineups and opening face-off. Do that as we continue right here on the Sports Voice of North Georgia, WDUN News Talk 550.